Welcome back to Norman, Oklahoma. Moments away from the kickoff, and they're still filing into this stadium. Oklahoma has won the toss. They have elected to receive, and they have two of their most dangerous players back to receive the kickoff. Westbrook and Mixon, as both the quarterbacks are getting ready. D.D. Westbrook, number 11, averaging almost 38 yards a return. And he'll take it 8 yards deep and keep it there. This is Baker Mayfield. He's completing more than 71% of his passes and is connected on 31 touchdowns, both third in the FBS. And in his last 4 games, he's thrown 19 touchdowns and just 2 picks. On the season, he's been outstanding with the deep ball, connecting on 10 50-plus yard completions. That's tied for first in the FBS.
It helps that he got number 11, D.D. Westbrook. You mentioned him on the kickoff return. He was battling an injury, a pulled muscle coming out of camp, and he is explosive. Second-year junior college player at a Blinn Community College, and he has those 4 games. His last 6 games have been legendary for the Sooners.
Samaje Perine starts at running back, and it's a flea flicker. It's back to Mayfield. Now he's got to run for it, and it blew up in their face. Great job by Baylor to defend a trick play to start the game.
And Phil Bennett, the defensive coordinator for Baylor, of course, part of the staff that was left behind when Art Briles was fired during the summer. And Jim Grove, the acting head coach, was brought in and kept the staff together. Bennett, a longtime defensive coordinator, has been shorthanded himself. He lost his 2 best defensive linemen off of last year's group. They played really well on defense until last week. They got really leaky against TCU, and of course battling now against an Oklahoma team that has just been maybe the hottest offense in the country the last 4 or 5 games.
Blanchard and Smith got credit for that last sack. Perine straight up the middle. Lowers his shoulder and gets back past the original line of scrimmage and out to the 26-yard line where Tyrone Hunt got him. Stopping the run has been a problem for Baylor. They're 101st in the country. They have done a great job against the pass, however.
And Perine, a guy who has missed some time. Of course, he owns the NCAA record for single yardage in a game, over 400 against Kansas a couple years ago. He's been out with a pulled muscle himself. Joe Mixon was suspended last week for a parking ticket incident. So against Iowa State, they went all the way to fullback Dimitri Flowers for their tailback. For Oklahoma, both running backs back today. Mixon
is the now terrific receiver, makes that catch, and he's got a first down up to the 37-yard line. They say if Mixon wasn't a running back they used all the time, he'd be a starting wide receiver. He has brilliant hands, great moves, and great after the catch. He'll stay on the field as the tailback. And they throw to Basquin on a flanker screen.
Mixon, a guy who I mentioned that he was suspended for a game. He apparently got a parking ticket, tore it up and threw, and there was a complaint by the attendant, so they suspended him for the Iowa State game. And Lincoln Riley, the offensive coordinator, second-year offensive coordinator Lincoln Riley, we met with yesterday, said we're just finding new ways to get him back. He learned a lesson last week, but he is really good in the open field and great hands.
Nice fake by Mayfield, being pursued, throws, caught. Jeffrey Mead. Terrific catch. This kid was a great basketball player in high school, did not play much early in his career, now is a junior, and he's getting the hang of it.
Wow, unbelievable catch and terrific coverage by Tion Wright. I'm not sure how Wright, and I'm sure Wright's a little confused how he didn't make that play, but Meade makes a wonderful grab on a ball that should have been, looked like it should have been tipped away.
Fake to Perine. And dropped inside the 5 off the fingertips of D.D. Westbrook. Had it 2 or 3 times and couldn't hold on. Mayfield is so good with the deep ball.
And both of these teams will hurl it. They go fast, they spread the field, and then they make you defend it. That ball, I don't know why Westbrook kind of just stabbed with one hand. It looked like he may have been able to lay out and get 2 hands on it. He tried to stab and pull it in, which is something you practice, but it looked like Westbrook with a good step and a half on Reed could have maybe laid out or half a step more and got a second hand on it. Pretty good throw there.
That was a pretty good throw. Right on target. Mayfield again as he comes out throwing. That one is too high. A very unusual poor pass for a guy who hits more than 71% of his throws, and that includes those deep balls, which usually cuts into your percentage.
Yeah, the long ball average, the yards per throw average is over 10 yards, which is really high, which means he's throwing it down the field. Where he gets himself in trouble, he's very athletically active. He bounces around. He's got a lot of energy. Sometimes his feet fail him. He's got a good arm, but he's got to have his feet right. And that one there, he had his feet not set as he went for Basquin over there on the flat, which had some yardage on it if he could complete it.
3rd and long. Mayfield with good protection floats this one, back shoulder throw, and has it complete to Andrews at the 19-yard line. Mark Andrews, who is a tough assignment for anybody. Big, strong, and he's got some speed to get himself downfield.
What a terrific throw. Excellent job by Andrews getting that to his left arm, and Oklahoma went fast so that there couldn't be a review. From the quick view I saw, it looked like it was a catch by Andrews, but Oklahoma deciding not to let the replay officials take a look. And another really nice throw by Baker Mayfield, and the linebacker Trayvon Blanchard had great coverage. What are you gonna? You can't defend a perfect throw and a tough catch if you're that tight.
P. Ryan is back in. If he hadn't been injured, he would be right on the verge of Billy Sims' all-time rushing record by now. He's probably not going to make it with the time he's missed. Mayfield cuts to the outside and scores. 15 yards for Baker Mayfield. They had a blitz coming off the corner, and he beat it.
I tell you, the nifty move here. This is a great play call. This was a run-pass option with a quarterback run. Was right at the end when he was setting up a block by D.D. Westbrook. He dipped to the inside and then went out to the outside. Very good run. Set up for the finish. That way you're not fighting for the goal line. Not only a great call by the coaches, but that was well executed and a nice finish by Mayfield on the run.
Seibert comes in for the point after. And Oklahoma obviously made the right decision in winning the toss and not deferring to the second half. This is a game where you want the ball if you can get your hands on it, and you want Baker Mayfield to end up with it if you can for the touchdown.
Around here, the early bird gets the waffle.
But for this program for a year and help them heal, the Art Briles coach was fired for mishandling sexual assault issues against his program. The scandal also cost Baylor president Ken Starr and athletic director Ian McCaw their jobs. They lost half of the 2016 recruiting class because of it, and some of their veterans transferred. They called for an independent investigation by an outside law firm that made conclusions that put everybody in a bad light, made 105 recommendations to fix it. An enormous job by any standards, but things keep coming out, it seems, weekly and even daily that are just picking the scab off of whatever healing process is going on here. A week ago, they wore all black uniforms against TCU that were selected by the seniors. And then some of the seniors said, well, we did it for Art Briles. And Jim Grove came back and said, as you see his son Kendall, who's still on the staff as an offensive coordinator, Jim Grove came back and said, when you're thinking about other things and you take the football field, it's not going to turn out well. And Ed Cunningham, you said you looked at tape. They did not look focused.
Yeah, and Kendall Briles, the offensive coordinator, this week had to fly up to Indianapolis to talk about a recruiting violation, even though it's a minor recruiting violation, just more distractions. And when we were talking to Jim Grove last week, the assistant coaches sent out a tweet on Friday night in defense of the fired Art Briles. And in talking to Jim Grove on Wednesday, like we always do with the visiting coach, you could hear the frustration in his voice that he feels like, yes, this is dire off-the-field situations, but if we're going to be playing and playing teams like TCU and Baylor, we need more focus from everyone, especially our assistant coaches. And here, a first down for Baylor. Good throw by Seth Russell. But for Grove, it sounded like there is some frustration about how much distraction there is within the walls of the football program.
Cannon made that last catch, and Baylor, which has still this prolific offense. The one thing you need to know, if you don't know anything about Jim Grobe, and all of us do know him, you can't find a better person, you can't find a better human being to be doing what he's doing right now. Jerry Punch has more. Doc?
Yeah, I totally agree, Mike. I mean, character, integrity, ethics, everything for Coach Grobe. You know, I talked to several Baylor coaches on the field before the game, and they said, you know, when the Wall Street Journal article came out a couple of weeks ago, everything began to leak inside the walls, and our focus was lost. I talked to Phil Bennett. He said, Doc, we have 63 scholarship players left. That's all. He said, and for the good kids and good families that are here, we met this week. He said, we've got to focus. He said, it's like he said, I told our players, it's like a golfer who goes on to play golf. If you aren't focused, you won't hit it in the fairway. You have no shot. Last 2 weeks, we were not focused on football. You have to be focused on football and come back and play today. He said it's tough, but we got to control what we can control, which is out here on the field.
And for their sake, Doc, it's 4th down, and Baylor is going for it. And they didn't get it. They didn't even get close. Jordan Wade stands him up in the middle of the play. We've got a timeout with 9:24 on the first quarter clock. Oklahoma, take what you think.
Is that 5A or 4A, Chili?
There's a state championship for everything at the state fair. Oklahoma takes over on downs at the 47. Pirine, the tailback behind Mayfield, and he'll get the call. Samaje Perine.
You know, the thing that Baylor last year, I think, surprised everyone how big and physical they were on their defensive line. The problem is Andrew Billings and Sean Oakman, who made up that two of the really dynamic players, especially Billings in the middle, they're now gone, and Baylor has struggled in slowing the run. And if Oklahoma is anything, they're balanced. They love to sling it, but they love to throw it, run it with Pirine and Nixon as well.
Mayfield pulls it. A great escapability, gets what he can and gets out of bounds. You're talking about that defensive line. Their defensive ends are 260 pounds apiece. In this day and age, that is tiny.
We were talking to Jim Grobe, and Jim Grobe, who his last coaching stop, of course, was at Wake Forest, where they had to make a living. And Phil Bennett, the defensive coordinator, that when Grobe was at Wake Forest, they had to make a living with undersized guys. And this is even smaller than what he was used to. So losing Oakman and Billings would be a big deal for anyone. But for Baylor, they just didn't have the recruits behind it, the guys developing with size that they had last year. This is quite a different defense for Bennett this year than it was last year without Billings. He was really special in the middle.
3rd and 5, 4-man rush. Mayfield over the middle. Flowers was going out, and Flowers contending he was held as he tried to go across on his pattern. And let's see what Oklahoma does, sending on the punting team.
And what a great stop for Baylor. This was a game there's been so many distractions. Our entire start of the broadcast is about all of the off-field distractions, and this is bad news for Baylor. Shock Linwood, who is suspended, the Baylor all-time leading rusher, at home for attitude issues, and now Terrence Williams going off with what looks like a lower leg injury. That's bad news for Baylor in a couple of weeks of just tough on-the-field action.
Great special teams coverage by Oklahoma. Jordan Thomas, the defensive back, takes it in at the 2.
Michigan.
And that is not good news. Seth Russell takes over at the 2 on the season. He's averaging more than 300 total yards a game. Also responsible for 27 touchdowns. And Cannon caught it, but may have lost a yard. Will Johnson made the stop. In short, it's been a great year so far for Seth Russell. 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's 14-2 as a starter, but the last 2 have come in the last 2 weeks.
And they went negative yardage on the first play, and now Dom DeSouza, the left tackle, backed up out of his stance, and they're going to get a full start.
Offense, number 64, 5-yard penalty. It's 2nd down.
It will actually be a 1-foot penalty.
Well, but when you're in safety territory, every foot can count, right?
Yes, sir.
So I would be careful Not a vicious pass rush without a blitz from Oklahoma. But this offensive line, pretty solid for Baylor. I don't know that I'd want Seth Russell just standing on the crimson paint, throwing from the pocket here.
Oklahoma comes with a 4-man rush off the weak side. The ball's batted down. Inside linebacker Jordan Evans got a hand up. He was coming off the corner.
Yeah, the blitz called by Mike Stoops, the brother of Bob, the defensive coordinator. And that was a good job by Evans timing his jump. Russell maybe could have got a pump there.
Russell throws from his end zone, tipped it incomplete, too high.
Well, this is really tough sledding for Baylor. Coming in after last week, a just atrocious start on offense against TCU. They looked like there was misreads. It looked like they weren't quite ready to play. And talking to Jim Grove, the frustration felt like it came about the assistant coaches and them not being focused. They are, of course, so intertwined with what's going on with the investigation, what happened with Art Briles. Are these guys ready to play? And this is a short punt. It's very blockable.
Drew Galitz with Westbrook, who's averaging 19.8 a return, waiting at the 50. Has to signal fair catch. And is upset with himself for doing so. Tosses the ball in the air after a great 49-yard kick out of the end zone.
Work for it. Work for it. Come on, man.
Cap off today, number 3, Michigan is at Iowa at 8 o'clock.
And if you'd like your Sooners to go to the college football playoff, I think you'd better root for Iowa today. I know that's a long shot, but you need some chaos in the Big Ten and the ACC.
And you need to root for a lot of people. Mixon just tripped, or he might have broken it. He's averaging almost 200 all-purpose yards a game. One of the most dangerous players in the country.
Man, that's a washout. Orlando Brown, the left tackle. His father, Zeus, of course, a long-time offensive tackle in the NFL. He's their best player up front. That was a mash job.
Mixon again. No place to go this time. Nice job by Baylor stretching it out. Tyrone Hunt wouldn't let him get to the outside.
They do have talent. This is a group with some speed. We've mentioned they lost so much size up front. Andrew Billings was such a different player in the middle than Baylor had. And without that, they have some speed. They have some athleticism. Just haven't been able to hold up in the run game very well this season.
Now Mixon and Pirine are split backs with Mayfield. They love to send Mixon out. They do this time. Instead, they'll throw over the middle. And it's complete to Andrews, his second catch of the day, and enough for a first down.
Andrews is more a wide receiver. I mean, he's 6'5", 250, but he lines up in the slot away from the line of scrimmage. He's a really different guy. Lincoln Riley is excited about how they can use him. That was a terrific catch. A little behind him, reached back and made the grab.
Mixon again. How's that for quick feet?
And, you know, the cut at the beginning of the run was as impressive as the second cut, because the cut right at the beginning of the run, that jump right there across gets him into the hole, and then he makes the second level. So he made a guy miss on the first level and the second level.
Third cut wasn't bad either. Mayfield holds it as long as he can and throws another perfect strike. Touchdown! D.D. Westbrook somehow avoided the tackle and somehow stayed in bounds for a 29-yard score.
Mike, it's called athleticism. And I think Westbrook, well, that was a little bad technique there at the end on the tackle by Chance Waz. Waz got a little too high instead of going. Well, he got confused when Westbrook went down and Waz was playing so high. And Westbrook was able to go under that, but that is supreme athleticism is how he got that done.
Now, he's thinking you're supposed to fall down when you do that.
Well, that's pretty good balance.
Keep going. Seibert and Oklahoma jumps on top. 14-0 with 5:17 to go in the quarter. That was a 50-yard drive that took less than 2 minutes. Doesn't take these guys long.
Man, and Baker Mayfield's going to start getting a lot of talk about going to New York again for the Heisman Trophy. I'm not sure that he'd be in line to win it, but he is playing so well, and my goodness, what athleticism. And watch the last step by Westbrook right there to be able to stay in bounds and get the ball over that pylon for the touchdown. That's just great athleticism and really, really good quarterback play. Baker Mayfield's playing at a super high level.
Yes, he is. And Westbrook was having his face mask pulled at the same time that he was trying to stay in bounds, and he still did it.
And, you know, this is a guy in Westbrook who came in last year. Sterling Shepard, of course, was the fine kind of top dog last year, but everyone started seeing last year what Westbrook could do. Coming into this season, he had a pulled muscle in camp, wasn't healthy. But as he has gotten healthy, and the addition of Mixon into the passing game, and, of course, the running of Mixon and Pirine, this is they may have their struggles on defense with some injuries, but this is as good an offense as there is in the nation.
Check in with Jerry Punch. Doc, you have an update for us?
Yeah, remember last possession, sophomore running back Terrence Williams limped off, couldn't put much weight on that right leg. Came to the bench, Mike Sims, the head athletic trainer, Dr. Haynes, their orthopedic surgeon, examined the knee as best they could on the sidelines. It was the right knee. They couldn't do a great exam, so they put him in crutches, not enough room here for a sideline cart, and took him in the locker room for a more extensive exam, but he could not bear weight on that right knee. Not good news.
Bad news just keeps coming for the Baylor Bears.
Well, and remember, we mentioned briefly Shock Linwood, the Bears' all-time leading rusher, is out after what was a flare-up on the sideline, and Jim Grobe saying he needed some time away. He was not taking to the competition of Williams and Hasty, Jermichael Hasty, who's now in as a running back well. And so Shock Linwood is at home today. And so with Terrence Williams out with a knee injury, all of the distractions, all of the things that Jim Grobe and his staff have been dealing with, to lose somebody that important on the road against Oklahoma, lot to overcome.
Quarterback keeper's going to come up short as Russell was tripped by Caleb Kelly. Looked like he was going to easily get the first down, but couldn't maintain his balance after Kelly caught an ankle. And let's see if they're going to go for it again.
Yeah, I think you have to. You're right here near midfield. You pump this away. What do you get, 30 yards, 40 yards? And but I think this is a run even with Williams out.
Quarterback keeper again, and they've got it more. To the 35. Nice play. Jordan Parker saves the touchdown, but Russell gets 23 yards.
And a good call by Kendall Briles, the offensive coordinator. Russell is a very good runner, and he nearly snuck through for 6.
It'll be a long afternoon for Jermichael Hasty. They like to run a lot, and they're down to him as a running back.
Russell last week as an Oklahoma defender is down, and not good news for Oklahoma with all the injuries. But last week against TCU, just real struggles in the run game. Russell just didn't seem to be reading the defense right. He had a couple of zone reads where it looked like he should have given it and didn't, and tried to keep it, but that one was a perfect read. And I think the way this game is going, if they punt that ball away, it's 21-0. So I love the idea for Jim Grobe on the road, allowing his offense to stay on the field.
Well, we have a second. Let's take a look at our AT&T Inside Access.
Oh,
Hey, Justin, how you doing tonight?
doing good. Yourself, Coach?
We have a surprise for you. I wanted to start off by personally thanking you for your service, your commitment, dedication, and
just want you to know we want to invite you to the game this weekend. We've got 4 tickets for you and your family, and want you to be on the field in pregame to hold the flag for Military Appreciation Game.
Thank you, Coach.
all of us Sooners sure appreciate you. We're proud of you, and you got to get down there and help me win a game.
Will do, sir.
That was Justin Cook, an 11-year veteran of the U.S. Navy, including serving time in Iraq. When he left the service in 2011, he enrolled at Oklahoma and earned a bachelor's degree in aviation management in 2014. He's currently working on his master's in human relations. He has continued a selfless approach to life, serving as president of the Student Veterans Association. Hasty down to the 12. We thank him for his service and his continued service to his community.
Well, Coach Stoops said, hey, come help us with a win. And right now, Baylor trying to make this a little competitive after picking up a key 4th down. Well,
just off the fingertips of Pooh Strickland, who was open at the goal line. And Russell may have rushed a little bit and missed him.
And
flag down late.
Comes in. It's going to be against Baylor. Obaniah Okoronkwo was the linebacker who went out for Oklahoma. That's a big deal. He's their best pass rusher off the edge. He was the Sooner that was injured when he went to the...
Ineligible receiver downfield on the pass. Number 11 was covered by an outside receiver. The penalty is declined. 2nd down.
Ed, who did you say was injured?
That was Okoronkwo, who is their best outside rusher, 7 sacks on the season. So he's back out on the field now. Obviously, good news for them.
Tip of the cap to you, sir.
This is a guy that they need against Baylor. They need down the road, who came back with just healthy. So good to see him back for the Sooners.
Having trouble with substitutions as Atkinson runs on the field, then runs off. Now both teams trying to substitute, and Baylor has to burn a timeout.
Baylor calls their first timeout of the half. 30 seconds.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention.
Well, if the offense, in college football, if the offense makes a substitution, the defense gets the opportunity to make a substitution. So as Baylor ran someone on, then Oklahoma, a lot of teams automatically, it gives you a little break as you run on. And we talked to Mike Stoops yesterday. It was always going to be a big body defensive lineman. If the offense in college football doesn't make a substitution, the defense is not allowed to match that substitution. You can substitute, but they can go fast. If the offense substitutes, then the defense is allowed to substitute and also line up. And so what teams are doing now against these super fast offenses, if they see someone from the offense switch, it's an automatic substitution. That was brilliant by Baylor, or excuse me, by Oklahoma to do that, and it cost Baylor. I think Baylor had a little confusion of who their personnel was supposed to be on that play, but that was a good heads-up exchange of personnel by Oklahoma to buy a break.
So 2nd and 10. Flanker screen. And out of bounds. They will mark Zamora out of bounds inside the 5.
Great block up front by Pooh Strickland. Good timing throw, and Baylor trying to go fast after a good on the short 3rd down. Zamora, good call by the officials, and just short of the 1st down. And here's Baylor going very fast on a 3rd and short.
They have to get to the 1.
Well, it's 4 down. You're not kicking field goals in this game. So you got 4 downs whether you make it or not. So maybe try a Russell throw here.
The official was standing there to remark the ball. That's why they couldn't go as fast as they wanted to. Russell fakes, throws over the middle. Very dangerous throw, and it's picked off. Intercepted at the goal line as he pump faked and threw underneath Jordan Evans. Just stepped in front of the intended receiver.
I'm not sure if this looked like confusion. Seth Russell held this right before he let it go. Here's Evans right here. Yeah, he didn't see Evans at all. He just didn't see Evans. He's looking for Blake Lynch and just did not see Evans, who did a wonderful job, you know, around the line of scrimmage sometimes that tight. A lot of times your linebackers will get too tight, but Evans does a wonderful job, and Russell just did not see him.
His 2nd interception of the season, and it comes at the goal line.
And a big momentum swing. You're looking at 14-7 potentially against a team that has played you very well. You beat them last year, but Baylor had beaten Oklahoma 2 years prior. So a good rivalry brewing at 14-7. Instead, it's 14-0.
Yeah, you wonder about the call as well, throwing the ball at that point.
Well, I didn't mind the throw there because you're going to be going for it on 4th down, so you're probably going to call a throw on 3rd or 4th down. But but they ran it into the boundary. They were on the left hash, and they had all of those bodies in there.
Yeah,
if you're going to run something like that,
a little crowded.
Yeah, it was very crowded, and that's why the linebacker was there. If you're going to run a kind of a smash slant near the goal line, I would run that to the field, and it gets Evans, you know, another 5-8 yards away from the interception he just made.
A little pushing and shoving after the play. Mixon. He's got it all, doesn't he? Ryan Reed left with an armful of air as he spun out. Already 35 yards on 6 carries for Mixon. Mixon again. Gets 2, maybe 3 on this one.
That was an efficient run, though. Those seem like little boring ones on first down, but there wasn't much there. The front side guard got blown up at the point of attack. He made a nice little cut back. That's what a guy with that much ability, you also just want the patient run where, you know, it's the iconic phrase, take what they give you. That's exactly what Mixon did there, and instead of 2nd and 10, it does make a difference to get to 2nd and 8.
T. Ryan, the 235-pound hammer of a running back, is back in. The throw to the outside will get him about 5 to Geno Lewis, the Penn State transfer. You throw it within 3 yards of Geno Lewis, he catches it.
Well, and this was an accurate, good timing throw. Lewis was a quarterback in high school. It took him a little while to turn into the receiver he became at Penn State. Had 1 year with 44 catches. Decided to take his show on the road after graduating, and a nice find, and he's really grown into this offense. Mayfield feels very comfortable with him.
Mayfield throws off his back foot, has the first down. Another good throw to Westbrook.
Terrence Williams came back out. He does not, even just walking, he looks a little uncomfortable. We'll see if he's even able to go. But Baker Mayfield, he does that, the old switcheroo with his feet sometimes. He's such a high energy. He just kind of pops with energy. Sometimes his feet get a little crazy, but he does have a pretty good arm, so he's able to stick that one in there with bad feet.
Mayfield after the fake goes up the middle on the run to Westbrook. They get to the 49-yard line, and that's going to be the end of a fun-filled first quarter from Norman, Oklahoma, where the Sooners have taken a 14-0 lead over the visiting Baylor Bears. Watching today, and those of you who served, we thank you. Mayfield with split bags. Boy, has he been sharp so far. Piron caught in the backfield and taken down. No gain. K.J. Smith, one of those 260-pound defensive ends we told you about, who has really good pass rush skills for this club, made that stop. It will be 3rd down for the Sooners. Going unusually slow at this point. I was
just going to say, I'm used to, as we talked to Mike Stoops yesterday, the defensive coordinator in this conference, it's basketball on grass. How fast can you go? And this feels pedestrian.
Blitz coming. Mayfield again off his back foot, floats it up for grabs, and floated it perfectly to his guy, Michael Jones. What a nice throw by Mayfield as Jones beat everybody in the secondary.
And as Oklahoma runs up to try to go fast, this is one of those where Lincoln Riley, the offensive coordinator, is yelling, no, 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 no. Yeah, okay, all right, that's fine, because that's what you get with Mayfield. He will heave it up there, but he knew exactly, because the blitz was coming, he knew he had man coverage, and true freshman Michael Jones was wide open. He'd run right by Chance Waz So you got to take some of that. That's what Mayfield gives you. And Riley yesterday was just animated and how much fun he has coaching the guys. Like, listen, he's going to heave it up there. But a lot of times he's right. And that time he was right. He knew exactly what he had. And what a good arm strength show to throw that falling backwards and still was able to lead Jones on a vertical route.
Pirine to the 4.
Is there any way you thought that ball was going to land in an Oklahoma guy?
Absolutely not. No, I thought it was going the other way because I never saw Jones, who was that wide open.
Well, and that's what Mayfield, who, remember, Mayfield just a junior. It feels like because he transferred that this would be his last year, but he's got one more year after this if he chooses to stay in college. I think he'll probably give it a thought or two about the next level, but you think about the numbers this guy could put up at the level he's already playing.
Remember, it's not really important if I saw him, just that Baker Mayfield saw him. And Pirine bulls his way in, and it's a 3-touchdown lead.
And give the defense credit, because for Oklahoma, everyone around here has been so up in arms about how bad their defense was. That was a 14-7 game looking to go with some of the momentum back to Baylor, and Jordan Evans made the big play, which then turns into 7 more points for the Sooners.
They have played, however, some of the best offensive football teams in the country this year. In this schedule, to give up a lot of points, especially in this league, is no sin. 21-0 Oklahoma as Pirine caps a 91-yard drive. Guides, they always seem to change.
Well, for Sooner fans, it's how do we get in? They were in last year, very similar position this year. The big difference is the tough loss against Houston, which is very ugly for them early in the season now.
Patrick Levels took a knee. Let's take a look at this week's college football playoff rankings, brought to you by Capital One.
And for Oklahoma, their road back to the college football playoff, you got to have Louisville lose so that you don't get 2 in from the ACC. But here's the big problem for Oklahoma. Michigan and Ohio State, a 1-loss winner or loser, the loser of that Michigan-Ohio State, the other team, if it goes undefeated, I think the Big Ten gets 2 into the playoffs. So if that happens, I think the road for Oklahoma is shut down. Of course, you've got to let Washington play it out. But for Bob Stoops, still playing for, unbelievably, his 10th Big 12 championship this year in his 18th season. He has had it at a pretty high level since the day he showed up, of course, winning that national championship in just his 2nd season here.
Well, he's in his 18th year as Russell drops back to throw. He's going to have to take off. Stoops now in his 18th year. In his first 17, he won more games than everybody.
Yeah,
Nobody else ever won more games in the first 17 years as a head coach.
At the start of his career, he's won more games than any coach in the history of college in the first 17 years. And what's amazing is here's a team that was in the college playoff last year, lost to Oklahoma in the semifinals, and this year they're sitting in the catbird seat to win the Big 12 again. They've got a tough conference slate down the end, West Virginia and Oklahoma State, very good teams. But the fan base, all they can talk about here is, we're so bad on defense. We can't play much defense. And it's so hard in this league with the injuries that they've had and the pace of play. And, of course, the non-conference teams that Oklahoma chooses to play every year. It's tough to keep them satisfied at a place like this, even
yes, it is.
When you're the winningest coach in the first 17 years of your career. And you're going, it's mind-blowing when you think of 10th. They win the conference this year. It'll be a 10th conference championship in 18 seasons as a head coach.
Just a remarkable level of success. And Russell is having to run for his life on every other play. There's really an unusual situation here at Oklahoma, as Bob Stoops pointed out yesterday. He says, I've been here 18 years. I've known one athletic director, Joe Castiglione, who has done a wonderful job, and David Boren, the president, who has raised more money than just about anybody on earth for his institution while he's been here. That is such a rare combination, I don't know if you could find it anyplace else in the country where all three have been together for that long.
And what they have built here, where they've built a program based on enriching the entire life of the student athlete, very much like what Nebraska does with their life skills. Oklahoma has a very robust role in the athlete's life off the field, and I think Oklahoma is a real shining example of a place as another offensive lineman is down for Oklahoma. But what they have done a really nice job year in and year out is not just win championships, it's a well-run program that cares about the student athlete. And it's, you know, you're going to get the complaints, oh, we don't win a national championship, we're upset. But boy, this guy's done a great job and done it nicely.
One of the Sooners is down. We will check on him when we come back.
To working on robotics.
You get the feeling this is a huge drive for the Baylor Bears, down 3 scores. Hasty following, nice job of following his blockers.
Mike, I'll go one further. I think it's a big drive across the whole season for Baylor. They looked really shaky last week against TCU. It is apparent that there is just a tough job of focusing, especially by the assistant coaches for Baylor. And so this third down, you start to feel like this is going to be a runaway, and their season may be slipping away as well.
Hasty again, nice cut, and got the first down to the 39. Remember, right now, Hasty is the only healthy running back that they want to play. Shock Linwood suspended for a game for attitude problems. He's not here, and Terrence Williams was hurt at the start of the ball game. So unless they want to go deeper, almost a second pick for Jordan Evans.
And right now, it just, Seth Russell looks, and I noticed it against TCU, where he's just not comfortable. He just doesn't quite look like the same guy he was last year before his neck injury against Iowa State knocked him out for the season. But he just doesn't look like the same guy. Very athletic with a good arm, but in the pass game, he just doesn't look comfortable. Looks like he's staring at some things and doesn't feel like he's in the flow.
Little option look, and Hasty again down to the 32, and we check in with Jerry Punch. Doc?
Yeah, you guys talking about Seth Russell. After the interception he threw on the goal line, he came to the sideline. Kendall Briles basically shrugged his shoulders and shook his head. Apparently that was not a Russell issue. A receiver ran the wrong way on the wrong cut and got the pick.
Hey, Doc, isn't that always the case? You just, the quarterback position takes the blame when, you know, it's usually something where someone ran the wrong route. Running that many guys into the boundary, I think maybe they'd want to recall that, but I didn't mind calling the pass there. But Kendall Briles, of course, his father is Art, who was let go in June amid the sexual assault investigation. And Jim Grobe comes in as the acting head coach, and I think it's safe to say that there will be an entirely new staff for the Baylor Bears come next season.
Got Blake Lynch, who was a wide receiver this year, redshirt freshman, 6'3", 210. They put him in at running back. That's his first carry of the year as a running back. Now they go out in the flat, complete to Cannon. Cannon, their leading receiver on the Blitnikoff list, got a good block from Strickland.
Cannon, I was talking about D.D. Westbrook for Oklahoma with an injury. Cannon had been battling a groin injury earlier in the year, and here goes Baylor with a good drive. They're down 3 scores, but at the end of the first half, middle of the second quarter, this is pretty important.
Snapping infraction, offense number 55, 5-yard penalty. It's first down.
Kyle Fuller, their veteran center, their best offensive lineman, with a little hitch in his snap.
You know what's crazy, though? That 5 yards sometimes helps you here. First and goal from the 8 or 9.
Room to operate.
Well, more room to throw. It gives you a vertical stretch. There's Terrence Williams, who is trying to loosen up that knee, but doesn't look like he's going to be able to come back. Dr. Punch said they checked him out, and he seems structurally stable, just a sprain.
This is the 15th play of the drive, and Lynch goes out in the pattern this time and makes his 27th catch of the season.
And the good news for Baylor, you talk about the 15th drive, is giving their defense a little bit of a blow.
That's for sure.
If they're going to make any plays, they're going to have to make some interceptions, some fumble, force some fumble. They need a little break.
Russell crossing pattern, and he threw it behind Strickland. Tipped up in the air, but it goes incomplete.
Yeah, you got to put some touch on this ball. Like I said, it feels like Russell is just trying to force everything. He throws a heater here. Woo! with that close right in front of you, it's got to hit the guy right in his basket, literally right in his elbow, his crotch, in his arm to make that throw. You got to take some off of that.
3rd and goal. Certainly you wouldn't think of trying a field goal down here no matter what. Quarterback keeper Russell. And finally they blow it dead at about the 3. Flags down at the end of the play.
Well, now I think it looked to me like Ishmael Wilson, maybe the guard. And if this is not offsetting, what a big penalty, because you go from 4th and goal from the 2.5 to 4th and goal from the 17.5.
Where you may have to kick it.
But 3's not doing anything. I mean, I know you probably will kick it at that point, but it's not going to be enough.
You don't make
today.
many 4th and 17s.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, offense number 68. It'll be a 15-yard penalty. The down counts, 4th down.
And this is where you start to hear, boy, right to the face.
Yep.
Right to the face. And this is where everyone outside of the Baylor program is saying, what's going on? You've got so many things going on off the field, and then last week they had a bunch of personal fouls.
He got pushed. Okay?
He did get pushed, but
so
you can't hit a guy in the face.
You always get caught if you retaliate. You have to keep your cool.
Your retaliation has to be back to the chest of the other player, though, not to his face. The referees will let you, the officials will let you push each other around a bit. You can't push somebody, you can't hit somebody in the face.
So now you've got to go with the field goal try. And Baylor at least gets on the board as Chris Callahan converts. 21-3, Oklahoma.
Michigan, Iowa, tonight at 8 Eastern on ABC.
Live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
Pitt and Iowa wins. That's what you want if you're a Sooner fan. And hope that winning out and winning the conference with 2 losses.
That would be the daily double, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would help you get in.
Westbrook and Mixon are deep. Waiting at the 5 for Galen's kickoff. Westbrook dives out to the 25. They'll start from there. Baker Mayfield. We'll check in first with Cassidy Hubbard. Cassidy.
Thanks, Mike. Taco Bell Studio Update number 16, West Virginia and Texas. Skylar Howard with the pass here, but check out Karan White. Shoved down, but still makes the catch on his back in the end zone for the score. Mountaineers up 17-3 in the second. Now Baker Mayfield with Mike and Ed.
All right. You're right, Cassidy. He is number 2 in the country. His pass efficiency rating, and it's too hard to explain. We only have 2 more hours in the telecast. 194.8. Just take my word for it. That's good, and if it holds, it would be the best anybody has ever done in NCAA history. And he adds to it right there with Mixon coming across.
Right now, he looks like he's just out playing a little ball, just in the backyard, having some fun. He has not. I don't know that he's missed a throw by more than a foot that he didn't mean to miss today. So, pretty dialed in.
And he's run very well, too. Nice stutter step by Mixon to get him to the outside, up to the 44-yard line.
He's a smooth runner, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Tion Wright made the tackle at the corner.
Big as a linebacker, 6'1", 226 pounds. And he has
great hands.
And he has that, yeah, he does. He's just so smooth with everything he does. It seems effortless.
Mayfield very good at those play-action fakes for Westbrook. Tries to stay in bounds and get more yardage as Reed helps spin him out of bounds.
We are in a golden era of quarterback play. It is fun to watch some of these guys, and a lot of it, of course, emanating out of the state of Texas. The great high school coaching in both Texas and the state of Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield from Austin, Texas, went to Texas Tech, sat behind Davis Webb and Patrick Mahomes, who are two future NFL quarterbacks, transferred here to Oklahoma, and now he's looking like an NFL quarterback.
He has now hit his last 8 throws, that one to Mark Andrews, and is 12 out of 15 for 175 yards here in the first half.
Texas Tech had Baker Mayfield, Davis Webb, and Patrick Mahomes on their roster all at one time. Mahomes was kind of the outlier. Everyone talks about his abilities, so Mayfield left and ended up here, took his team to the playoffs last year, playing maybe even better, higher level ball this year. And Davis Webb is, I believe, #1 in the country in passing for Cal now.
If you have that air raid kind of offense, you can get some quarterbacks. Nice move by Mayfield. Then the second man has him. He's still on his feet. Somehow stayed alive, throws it out of bounds. And that may be intentional grounding.
Well, they're going to throw it down because Mayfield, even though he's out of the pocket, the ball does not go beyond the line of scrimmage. Unbelievable athleticism to get out of that. But as
although the quarterback was out of the pocket, the pass failed to make it back to the line of scrimmage. Intentional grounding. Offense, number 6. Loss of down at the spot of the foul. 3rd down.
And you see how the officials get together after a play like that, because the referee is watching the quarterback to make sure that he's okay. Somebody else has to watch it downfield.
Well, and they have to be very careful with targeting there, as the defender from Baylor comes over the top and looked like he may have led with the crown of his helmet. You have to be very careful as you're finishing off that play, and as the officials are officiating. That was very, very close to targeting there on Baylor.
Now 3rd and very long for Mayfield. Throws it underneath to Mixon. One-on-one. Mixon gets what he can to the Baylor 45-yard line. Good tackle by Ryan Stewart in the open field.
This is a place, if you were Oklahoma, it's 4th and long, but you're on the plus side of the field. I know they're going to punt it away, and you cannot blame Bob Stoops. He's feeling pretty good about how his team is playing for punting this away. But if this were a little tighter game and you thought Baylor was bringing everything they had, it might be an opportunity to go for it.
Seibert hangs it up, taking it to 20. So only a 25-yard kick, but they do get Baylor back in its own 20. They update you with all the injury news and early breaking stories.
There's a lot of statues here at Oklahoma, a lot of trophies, Heisman's, national championships. And, you know, talking about Baker Mayfield and what he may end up here career-wise. Remember, this is a pretty good place for quarterbacks with recent history of Sam Bradford, Jason White, been pretty great here.
What a catch on a throw that was way behind him by Chris Platt. Looked like Cirque du Soleil the way he turned around and caught that. Boy, Russell taking a beating on some of these runs. Austin Roberts was the first man there defensively.
And let's not forget, Russell sat out the back half of the season last year after breaking his neck and needing surgery to stabilize that neck. He's been medically cleared to play, so but he certainly has not looked completely comfortable when he runs the ball.
That's Blake Lynch filling in at running back and gets it up to the 48-yard line for a Baylor first down. They're starting to move the ball on Oklahoma.
Yeah, last 2 drives, they started to get some things together, and this is an Oklahoma defense that has had its struggles.
Russell grabbed high and tossed down. What a game Jordan Evans is having.
And Evans was the spy there for the quarterback, and just waited and waited, and Russell had to hold the ball because of good coverage. And this is something I saw against TCU, where in the pass game, Russell seems to be holding the ball a little bit.
Lynch again to the Oklahoma 48-yard line.
Lynch looks pretty natural. I know he's lining up as a wide receiver, but with Terrence Williams out, they've been having to get a little bit of some help for Jamichael Hasty.
Russell flanker screen. Zamora fumbled, recovered by Strickland. Right place at the right time. Zamora dropped it on the ground, went right to Pooh Strickland.
Strickland's having a nice game. He's had a couple of really good blocks on this wide receiver screen. And here, as the ball comes out, good clean hit by Oklahoma. And Strickland, once again, a nice play away from the ball.
4th and 2, no punt team. Lynch straight up the middle. He's got it more. Lynch breaks a tackle. To the 24-yard line. First down, Bears, a gain of 20.
What a good 4th down pickup. 21-3. Got to get something here, right?
Complete to Cannon. Breaks the tackle. Cannon. Touchdown. Got away from Jordan Thomas, who was a big-time cover corner, but he couldn't make the tackle.
And it looked like the pursuit, you hear coaches talk about, we got to get 11 guys running the ball. It looked like the pursuit slowed down when they saw Thomas making the tackle. And when they got there, they were surprised that Cannon came free.
This is some response by the Baylor Bears. Down 21-0. They've scored on their last 2 possessions. This one an 80-yard drive. And if it hadn't been for a really bad penalty, they had a shot at another touchdown.
And these 2 offensive series, very importantly, have given their defense a little blow, because in the first quarter, they had to defend a ton of plays. And against any offense in this league, but especially Oklahoma, you're not going to have a chance. And a terrific run by Blake Lynch, who is a highly recruited, multi-talented athlete out of high school in just his 2nd year. And then here's the missed tackle by Thomas. Cannon does a wonderful job, just like D.D. Restbook, and you could see the defenders kind of late getting over there. That was Will Johnson, the nickelback, who's a little late and wasn't able to finish it off.
And they really quieted down this crowd of 83,000 plus. Tomorrow morning, kick off your Pro Football Sunday with ESPN. NFL Insider's Sunday edition starts at 10 Eastern. They update you all the injury news, fantasy stuff, early breaking stories. And at 11, Chris Berman and the crew Sunday NFL Countdown will take you right up to kickoff. Both shows also streaming live on the ESPN app, and watch ESPN. Well, this is an unexpected turn of events. It looked for all the world like Oklahoma was just going to run them out of the building. And
good for the Baylor players. Last week, everything just looked kind of discombobulated. And early in this game, it looked like, oh, no, this is going to be 67-10 or something. But all of a sudden, an offense that is still one of the top 10 in the country comes to life. And boy, did they need it, especially for their defense.
Westbrook runs up on this one and is taken down just shy of the 25-yard line. Still have some time left, 2:10 in the first half. Celebrating its 12th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. To date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds. Well, if you're offensive coordinator Lincoln Riley, what do you do in the last 2:10?
Well, you don't want a turnover. You've got this game in control. I think you can lean on the run game and use some of those timeouts if you need to.
Mixon. Nothing there, and a nice tackle by Avion Edwards.
And if I'm Baylor, what I would start if Oklahoma's going to be conservative here, if I'm Baylor, I'm not a timeout here, but at some point you can start thinking about, well, wait, if they're going to play conservative, maybe we should use some of those timeouts. That's Phil Bennett, the defensive coordinator.
Excuse me, that last carry went P-run. This is thrown up for grabs and picked by Orion Stewart. Threw it into double coverage, and Stewart with his 5th, a team-leading total interception of the year. So Mayfield with the big mistake.
This is turnovers. The team that wins a turnover battle wins 80% of the time. And Oklahoma, that was in complete control. Good follow through by Mayfield, but it was Orion Stewart who's got 4 in his 5th interception on the year. That's as good as you can play that center field safety. The ball hung up a little bit on Mayfield. He stepped into it. A lot of times you see him maybe underthrow it because he falls back. But I'm surprised that you're calling and throwing that ball up 11, you've got control of the game, and all of a sudden you're putting Baylor's offense, which is red hot the last 2 drives, right back on the field.
You know, Ryan Stewart is a guy who can get from the center of the field to the sideline, and this pass almost caught and probably should have been by Chris Platt, and Stephen Parker was there at the last minute to knock it down.
Boy, Seth Russell cannot put this ball more on the money. Good route. Good finish of the defense, though. Give Stephen Parker some credit there. Yeah. I mean, this was, he got the right hand of the receiver and pulled it down. It's easy to say that should have been caught. However, that was really good defensive finish play by Parker to get the right hand of Platt and pull that hand off so he couldn't make the catch. Terrific defense at the end.
If Baylor could even get into position for a field goal, what a big lift it would give them going into the locker room. Russell on a keeper. Avoids his own man, dives forward. He's right at the sticks at the 48-yard line.
Was he Joe Mixon? Who's this guy? Quarterback for Baylor. That was a terrific 2-cut run to pick up a huge first down. At that point, you're kind of behind the clock and the sticks, because Oklahoma could have taken a timeout after that play if you don't pick up the first down.
Hasty, dragging tacklers with him, picks up 5.
Now, what you can still run the ball here. Remember, it takes forever in college football for the clock to run out because of how much it stops. And with those 2 timeouts, you can still be calling the run.
Could have been caught by Strickland. Pretty good throw by Seth Russell, and he was open on the quick post.
And had room to run. The
The
safety was late getting over there. Stephen Parker, and this ball should be caught and run through. Strickland, who's done an excellent job blocking on the outside. That one's going to haunt him. You got to shake it off, though. Got to shake it off. You're in this ball game. Now it's time to make a play. Let that one go.
It's a nice throw by Seth Russell. Hasty again, they come after him, and he kept it, but he lost it. Russell put the ball on the ground, Ahmad Thomas got it.
Russell immediately going to the officials, like arguing maybe that he was down. His back was to us, so it's very hard to tell if it was close. But another good run by Russell ends. No, that ball's clearly coming out. Good force of the action by Will Johnson. Johnson just coming back from an injury himself, another one of the injured Sooners, and a terrific recovery by Ahmad Thomas. And all of a sudden a turnover in Oklahoma, who was on their heels with 3 timeouts. Let's see if they get aggressive.
Draw play to Ryan. He's taken down at the 32.
I would think that Bob Stoops told his offensive staff, I don't want to see you throw the ball again here. Let's see if we can't force Baylor to use their timeouts, try to get out of this half.
43 seconds on the clock.
And with the way they run the ball, you might pop a 20-30 yarder, and then once you get over to the plus side of the field, then you can get aggressive again, especially because you have all of your timeouts left.
Please reset the clock to 33 seconds, and the clock will start on my signal.
There was an equipment issue for Oklahoma. A player lost his shoe, and so because they're on offense and they did not use a timeout, they get the 10-second runoff.
Up to the 41. And Ed, I think you're exactly right. They break a run, then they can go for something. If they don't, let's just run it again. They'll take a timeout with 20 seconds.
And there is, run the clock down to, say, 3 seconds and take a throw to the end zone. Mayfield's got a good arm. You're very good at throwing the long ball. So there's also played a little conservative. Now you're near midfield. Roll him out and take one shot at the end zone. In a game that felt like you were running away, all of a sudden Baylor showed up and is playing some offense. This is an opportunity to try to sneak one in before the end of the half.
As far as the conference goes, Oklahoma's schedule is backloaded. They're playing Baylor today. They've got West Virginia, then Oklahoma State, their final 2 games. Those are the 3 teams that have a shot at catching them. And that's it. We'll know for sure who the best team in the Big 12 is.
Well, of course, the Big 12 does not have a conference championship game this year, so they will starting next season. Of course, the NCAA giving autonomy to the conferences of how they want to do championships. But this is a place that obviously has a proud tradition of winning their conference Big 8 to the Big 12. And this guy, Bob Stoops, as I mentioned earlier, if he wins one this year, his 10th conference championship in 18 seasons, and that includes a time where Matt Brown was at Texas and Nebraska was in the conference and pretty good at the end under Bo Pelini before they left. So it was a very competitive conference there for several years, and what you could call a golden era for Texas, and yet he still won 10.
Mayfield, pressure coming, throws underneath, in and out of the hands of D.D. Westbrook with, well, only 1 second went off the clock that time. That's not possible.
It was a quick slant, and because of the timeout, now Oklahoma.
Was it 23? Yes, it was.
You know, that timeout there, it seemed like it helped Baylor a little bit. You know, it almost felt like Baylor would have let you run the clock off, and now you're still out here playing with some guys who can make huge plays when they need to.
Seibert, nice high punt, 44 yards. Fair catch made now with only 12 seconds left to go.
Well, 12 seconds is 2 to 3 plays, right?
I don't think so.
You think?
I think it's 1 play.
Yeah. You think it's a take a knee?
I think it's take a knee, Seth Russell, and let's go in and talk about it because we closed a 21-point gap to 21-10.
Lots of momentum back towards Baylor. Terrence Williams, they lost. Of course, we mentioned Shock Linwood is at home for what has been described as an attitude suspension for at least 1 game. And Terrence Williams went down on the first drive. And you and Jim Grobe are like thinkers, Mike.
Thank you. That's a compliment.
Well, this was a really good performance by Baylor after a shaky game last week to go down 21-0 on the road and come back and make it competitive. Good for them.
It's 21-10 Oklahoma at the half. When we come back, the studio will bring you up to date on everything at halftime. Score here in Norman, but the real story behind that score is that Baylor has grabbed the momentum because they were down 21-0. They score the final 10 points, and Ed, the good news for them, they get the ball to start the second half.
Oklahoma made the choice, won the toss. They wanted the ball. Mayfield went right down the field and scored, and it looked like it was going to be a runaway, 21-0. And then Seth Russell started getting comfortable running the ball. He had a couple of runs down around the goal line. He looked a little tentative, but he's looked a little more authoritative. He's got to get the throw game going, but he's key in the run game as well.
Moments ago, Jerry Punch with head coach Bob Stoops.
Coach, for most of the first half, your defense played so well, then late gave up some yards and 10 points. What are your concerns?
Yeah, as much as anything, controlling the run game. That's been the biggest issue. We've got to control their run game, and we've got to run the football better on offense.
Baker Mayfield, a rare miscue throwing the ball downfield.
Yeah, it's not like him, but he's had a good game otherwise. Hopefully he can have a good half.
Thanks, Coach.
Boy, he has had a good half as Jim Grobe, the acting head coach for Baylor, has to feel pretty good about how his team responded.
Seibert will kick it away. Levels waits at the goal line. Takes it on the hop. And wrapped up as he got to the 25-yard line. Now let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
It felt like all the world this was going to be another blowout for Baylor as Baker Mayfield does a nice job setting up some blocks on a running touchdown and then finds D.D. Westbrook, who somehow stays in bounds and stays in balance. And Seth Russell, who had been struggling a little bit, all of a sudden gets going a bit by hitting Katie Cannon with a nice finish of the run. But there was an interception. That would have been a big game changer for Baylor as they were down 21-0 at that, 21-7 at that point.
couple of plays could have really changed the nature of this game. Flanker screen to K.D. Cannon, who is number 7 all-time in Baylor annals as far as receiving yards. He just made his 6th catch of the day.
Well, this Baylor offensive staff is used to being inventive. They left Shock Linwood at home for a suspension. The all-time leading rusher here at Baylor is not even here when they lost Terrence Williams to a knee injury on their first drive, and so now's trying to invent an offense like we saw them do last year in the bowl game beautifully against North Carolina.
Zamora gets nearly to midfield. We check in with Jerry Punch. Doc?
Yeah, I talked to Jim Grove a moment ago coming out of the locker room. He said, guys, we just got to take care of the football. We got to capitalize on offensive possessions. He said, coming in, we thought this would be a high-scoring football game, but we haven't done our part. If we take care of the football, so we shut them down defensively late in the half, and we got to move the football offensively.
Well, you're right, Jerry. Complete pass to Strickland, and he breaks a tackle, and Strickland will get inside the 20, a gain of 31 yards. Another big play for this offense that's 6th in the nation in total yards.
There's a flag on the 45-yard line all the way back near the line of scrimmage.
Ineligible receiver downfield on the pass. Offense number 72. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Right guard Blake Blackmore.
So run pass option, RPO, that's the new acronym, where you're running a running play and you're throwing it. Well, this is Blackmore, the right guard, and Seth Russell had to hold the ball. Because he had to double pump it, that let Blackmore get beyond 3 yards. It's not an error by Blackmore. He was supposed to go block that linebacker. However, because Russell had to double clutch, it let Blackmore get more than 3 yards down the field. And here's another mental error.
Movement by the right tackle, Patrick Lawrence.
Number 77, 5-yard penalty. It's first down.
Now, we should point out that before this year, you could get 4, 5, 6 yards downfield, and they wouldn't call it. It was a big bone of contention. He looked like he was maybe 4 yards downfield, but they said, we're calling it from now on.
Yeah, 3 yards is the max that the lineman is allowed to be downfield. An ineligible receiver is allowed to be downfield when the ball's thrown beyond the line of scrimmage, and they have gotten a little tighter with that.
Flanker screen would have been a pick 6 right in the arms of Jordan Thomas. He jumped the route. He knew it was coming. The one thing he forgot to do was catch the football.
He ran beautifully to the end zone, though, after he dropped it.
Holy cow.
Yeah, perfect read. They've been setting this up, and you could see Pooh Strickland, who's done a really nice job blocking out there. This was completely jumped by Thomas, who just missed it.
This throw goes out of bounds, and that 7 points just goes wanting.
You know, Strickland went out there, and I'm not so sure that Strickland's right hand didn't have something to do with that as he was trying to get a block. Good read by the junior, Thomas.
Russell floats that, tipped and incomplete. These linebackers have gotten great depth underneath. That was Emmanuel Beal, number 14, got a hand up. Jordan Evans has done that a couple of times. When you get deep drops like that, it's tough to complete a ball in the middle of the field.
Well, Russell's kind of locked in on the part of the field he's going to, and that allows the linebackers to go over there. We got the report, of course, earlier from Doc Punch on the interception was a missed route, but that time Russell seemed to keep his eyes on the area for too long and allowed Beal to get back there and knock it down.
So, Ed, instead of 1st and 10 at the 19-yard line, the flag killed another opportunity to score.
All because of the pump that the quarterback had to double clutch it, otherwise be a whole different game.
Westbrook makes the fair catch at the 15-yard line. 45-yard kick. Coming up later today, ABC with a pair of 9-0 teams that are currently in the college football playoffs at 3:30 Eastern. Coming up shortly, number 2 Clemson will play host to Pitt. Then cap off your day with number 3 Michigan paying a visit to Iowa. Both games streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
I'll go back to that RPO, the run pass option that has become a really incredible addition to offenses in this modern era of football. The offensive line, they used to tell you they give you a key run block or pass block. Now you're run blocking, and that was just a huge penalty on Baylor. And again, not an error. That's the way it's designed. That's the way you have to do it. But because Seth Russell had to double clutch it instead of, as you said, a 1st and 10 for Jim Grobe's Baylor Bears, now they turn the ball back over after having a ton of momentum there in that second quarter.
Perine and Mixon both in the backfield with Baker Mayfield. Perine up to the 24. Xavier Jones made the stop for Baylor, so it will be third down and about 2 yards.
Is that a huddle? Is that Oklahoma? We actually have a huddle. I've seen I think that's my first one I've seen today.
I don't know. I'm a stranger in town. And that's right at the sticks.
Good patience by Perine. That was clogged up, and instead of trying to bounce it out, he just waited, and then got that extra half a yard he needed, because for that split second while he paused, he was a good half yard behind the first down.
He's a very powerful kid. Perine again. Stone to line of scrimmage.
And Phil Bennett, the defensive coordinator, a little short-handed. We already mentioned some of the guys they lost up front from last year's team. That time deciding he wanted to bring a blitz on first down. What are you going to do? Are you going to allow Mayfield to tear you up with his arm, or are you going to put some extra guys around to stop Perine and Mixon? And that time Bennett has to choose against matching wits against Lincoln Riley in his second year as the OC and quarterback coach for Oklahoma.
2nd and 9. Mayfield wants to throw, guns it over the middle of Andrews, and he's up to the 37-yard line, and the 4th catch for the 250-pound tight end. You can see his future in the NFL as a guy you split out a little bit and just drive defenses crazy.
Tight end / wide receiver.
Exactly.
I mean, here he is right here. That's not a tight end position. That's a slot receiver.
Baylor shows blitz. They back off of it. Pass complete out of the backfield.
And this is what you can do when you have a bigger guy like Mark Andrews, who has gotten much better as a hand on the ground, what they call an in-line tight end. But this time Andrews was lined up in the slot and was able to get the block to spring a really kind of simple swing pass that is essentially like a run play.
Mixon has wide receiver hands and running back skills. And they'll flank him out this time. He's to the near side. So
He'll
3 wides to the right. Yes, he will. He runs good pass. Perine.
This is a pretty dominating drive for Oklahoma as the momentum had gone back to Baylor, and Baylor now making a whole switch on their defensive line because Oklahoma made a switch on offense. So the officials give Baylor a chance to line up, but this has been a really good drive trying to take some of the momentum back.
Mayfield takes off, then throws. Back shoulder throw, Westbrook, touchdown. Mayfield has thrown 2 balls that didn't look good in the air, but he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew where he had to throw the ball to give his guy a chance.
Woo, what a great play on the ball. And for Baylor, Henry Black is the guy on defense I think you're going to get a review. I'm not so sure as he landed that ball broke the plane, but you just have to feel for Henry Black and Baylor. No, I don't think that's a touchdown. I think you're going to look at, I think this is going to get overturned 1st and goal from inside the 1. However, going back to Baylor and Phil Bennett and the defensive coordinator, it has to be so frustrating. You're playing pretty good defense and you're right on it, and yet Mayfield tosses one up and Westbrook comes down.
Let me give you this stat. This fascinates me. Today, Westbrook has 88 yards. In the other 6 conference games, 105, 131, 158, 184, 202, and 232. He has cut a swath through this conference. Ruling on the field is touchdown. I think a ball may break the plane. I don't think you can turn it over.
Well, here's the thing. It's impossible to tell. He's got it in his right arm as his left shoulder comes down. It's impossible to tell as his body, I think, from that angle to tell if the ball actually breaks the plane. So I don't think that they can overturn it. I'm not sure they can use the word confirm.
After further review, the ruling on the field of a touchdown stands.
So saying that they couldn't quite tell if he broke it or not, so they let it stand. And if it didn't, it was within a couple of inches. So as we have seen all year, the officiating on the field is superb. That's one thing I think we've realized with replay is how good the officiating is on the field. If they miss something, they barely miss it.
Yeah, because they have to do it in real time. We get to look at 7 different angles 8 times. That's a big score for Oklahoma. They had gone up 21-0, and then Baylor had really taken the momentum away from them until this drive.
And Mayfield now 2 for 1 on no, don't throw that. One, of course, the interception that he threw before the end of the half. The other one, a touchdown to Westbrook.
Seibert knocks it through. Westbrook and Mayfield with another huge game, and Oklahoma with a 3-score lead again. Love to see what they can do if they can keep that undefeated record going. Beautiful campus of Oklahoma. The Sooners kicking away. Levels. Tries to get outside. Breaks a couple of tackles, but a lot of Sooners there to defend and stop him short of the 25-yard line. Speaking of that ball game, now for today's Aflac trivia question. When was the last time Iowa defeated an AP top 2 team? Michigan, of course, 3rd in the playoff rankings, but 2nd in the AP. Think about that for a second.
And the reason it matters is if you're a Sooner fan, you're really rooting for Iowa. You'd love Iowa to beat Michigan, Michigan to beat Ohio State, have a 1-loss Michigan team and a 2-loss Ohio State team, which gives you a better chance. Even though you lost to Ohio State, it still gives you a better chance in the college football playoff.
Gut time for Baylor. Hasty answering the call all the way up to the 48-yard line, but there's a flag down.
Holding. Offense number 77. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Couple of penalties have just killed them on big plays.
There's going to be 6 or 7 plays when this game is over for Jim Grobe and his staff when they break down the film. The fumble by Seth Russell down inside the 20-yard line. A couple of penalties.
Personal foul.
Foul deep on the, which would have given them a 4th and goal. Instead, they had to kick the field goal from inside the 1. And for Kendall Briles, part of the staff that remained after his father was let go, Jim Grobe decided it would just be too much change to make changes on the staff when he was hired in June. They called a good game.
Russell on the slant to Zamora. Crowd's been awfully quiet for a 28-10 lead.
That's early.
Russell, that was tipped and it's intercepted. Guess who? Jordan Evans to the 1. What a game he has had.
Senior from right here in Norman, just north of here actually, Norman North High School. Kind of a nice day. This is not senior day, so not his final game as a Sooner, but that ball tipped right at the line of scrimmage. And what looked like would have been about a 3rd and 12, the receiver was open, all of a sudden becomes a 1st and goal for Oklahoma. And all of the momentum that Baylor had wrestled back by playing really well in offense, all of a sudden a couple of mistakes and a good tipped ball at the line of scrimmage. You can't put that on. That was just good play by the defensive line of Oklahoma. All of a sudden, that momentum seems to be slipping away.
He had 1 interception on the season coming into this game. Now he has 3.
How cool is that, playing in your hometown at a major university, having a big senior year?
That's right. You can bet that's what he wanted to do from the time he could understand you'd go to school and play football, too. Direct snap. P-line. No signal yet. Now there is. Touchdown. It can be 99-yard drive or a 1-yard drive. They all count the same.
And a bummer for Baylor. Here's a team that really looked unfocused and not well prepared last week against TCU. They came in, they just got pummeled early in this game, went down 21-0. They fought back to make it 21-10, and just a couple of mistakes, and then a tipped ball interception deep in their own territory leads to another 7 for the Sooners.
That was your prototypical 4-second touchdown drive.
Well, we are in the Big 12. That's the way they roll here, Mike.
35-10 Sooners.
I didn't know we shot that live. Interesting.
Levels won't have a chance at this one. It goes out of the end zone. And it's Baylor miscues as much as anything else that have determined this game.
This is what's going to keep you up. On the 1-yard line, the receiver quits his route, an interception on the 1. Then the personal foul, which on Ishmael Wilson, which moved them back and forced them to try a field goal. Then Seth Russell fumbles after picking up a first down inside the 20. Then the tip ball interception. There's that 1-yard line again. Instead of throwing the interception on the 1-yard line, this returned to the 1-yard line by Jordan Evans. And in a game that Baylor came in and after a tough week last week and all the off-field issues that are going on, just major life-changing things going on off the field, trying to get this team focused, all of a sudden it's the mistakes that are hurting them in a game that they've been very competitive in.
And remember, they lost Terrence Williams, who was going to rotate at running back with Jermichael Hasty early to a leg injury. Shock Linwood, who was their all-time leading running back, is not on this trip. He is being disciplined for attitude issues, and that's the kind of thing you're going to see with Jim Grobe as the acting head coach. Jim Grobe is, as he once put it, he's not going to put up with knotheads. And somebody does something that he thinks puts them in that category, he's going to call them on.
What a nice move by Hasty. The really only true running back. Got a couple of younger guys, but in Jim Grobe, who was asked, there's Williams, who's still out of the game.
Russell too high on a slant.
But for Jim Grobe, when he was asked by Grant Taff, who of course the longtime coach at Baylor and has been a long time head of the Coaches Association, to come do this, you know, Grobe hesitated for a moment. He knew how hard it would be, and even in talking to him this week, taking this job, and his whole focus has been for the players that are left, because the players who are here had nothing to do with all these past issues that are going to take years to unwind at Baylor. And he said, my goal has been just try to get us focused enough and let these young guys who had nothing to do with what happened here have a good season.
Nice catch by Zamora, who gets into Oklahoma territory on a gain of 17. Now, Jim Grobe took this job for all the right reasons, and he may have felt a little bit betrayed last week when there was a mass tweet from the assistant coaches in support of Art Briles. He said it didn't bother him because, you know, you want to support the guy that you worked with, and as far as his son being part of that, he says, if you don't love your dad and not going to support him, you're not the kind of guy I want to have around. But it just felt a little bit like, from the outside, like he was being undermined.
And in talking to Grobe, you could hear some frustration as a Baylor offensive player is down. You could sense the frustration of, if we're going to have the season, and people have called from the outside to shut the season down. Harvard men's soccer team shut down their program when they found a lewd book about the female athletes at Harvard. And so a lot of people have said, should this happen at Baylor? And what Jim Grobe has said is, we have a bunch of kids who had nothing to do with those problems. I'm going to try to come here and help them. However, his frustration was evident on the phone with us earlier this week, feeling like there's so much going on the outside, including with the assistant coaches that are still here, that the distractions were overwhelming, and he feels like it's been a little unfair to some of these players.
Hey, Doc, it's a tough situation for everybody involved, isn't it?
It really is. You know, you mentioned about Grant Taft, Jim Grobe's longtime friend, asking him to come take over. You know, Jim Grobe said he and his wife Holly had to think about it. He had to go pray about it. They were basically in retirement. And he said, and he knew Grant Taft because he had served on the ethics committee. And the reason Jim Grobe's on the ethics committee is because his credentials for credibility and integrity are impeccable. And that's why he came here. I talked to him on the field before the game. This has been a very difficult year because he and Holly were friends with Art Briles and his wife. They travel together. He knows these coaches. But he said, I'm here for one reason, for the kids that were left behind. There are some good kids and good families who are just going to try to get through this season.
Very well said, Doc. And anybody that has ever been around Jim Grobe knows how much he is respected and why he is respected. He is a guy of the highest ethical character. Otherwise, Grant Taft would have not had him as the head of his ethics committee of the Coaches Association.
And that the outcome when tragic things are uncovered, like we saw at Penn State with the child molestation charges and Jerry Sandusky, and then of course the revelation, and Doc mentioned the Wall Street Journal report a couple of weeks ago about Baylor saying that 17 women had accused 19 different athletes, including football players, of sexual assault during Art Briles' tenure. It really is shocking, and this is a team that's going to go through major turmoil, and the players that are left behind, they're the ones who are going to be shorthanded, and it's going to be a real struggle for them. So a lot of young people harmed by that behavior, that had nothing to do with it.
Fourth down, big play here, and first down as Russell gets the job done.
And Terrence Williams back in the game. They checked his knee. It was sound. Just looked like a sprain.
Russell takes off again. Gets what he can, goes down about a yard shy of another first down. I mean, there's no quit right now in these guys.
Oh, and Seth Russell's really slow to get up. He's pointing down at his left leg.
Boy, the Oklahoma players, when you see the other players saying, you got to get out here.
And this is a shame. I'm not sure that we're going to be able. They just showed the replay on the big board, and the fans had an audible reaction. So we'll take a look here. Oh boy. Yeah, his left leg. Yeah, his left leg looks like this is a major lower leg injury, and this is a guy who broke his neck last year against Iowa State, and this looks like one of those horrific injuries. What an absolute shame this is.
Respect for this Baylor quarterback and all he's been through.
Thank you, Doc. And if anybody on any of the different television outlets decides to show this replay and you know it's coming, I just say don't watch it. It is horrific at best.
And this affects both teams. You know, the Oklahoma players immediately knew that Russell was hurt badly, and they started motioning to the sideline. And this affects both sides. This is a game that you always feel like you're one play away from this type of injury. And so both sides, you sit for a moment and think, well, wait a minute, that could happen to me. And sometimes it's hard to bounce back when you have that type of injury. It was horrific, and the Oklahoma players, both sides knew it right away that Russell was hurt.
Enter Zach Smith, a 6'4", 235-pound freshman with a big arm who has thrown 20 passes this year, completed 10 for 128 yards. That's it.
Ball starter snap.
Illegal snap. Offense number 55. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
It's the second time that Kyle Fuller has been called for that, and it's the 7th flag against the offensive line in this game for Baylor. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Throws deep, incomplete, and he was drilled. Zach Smith stood in there and got lit up.
And, of course, Smith in there because Jarrett Stidham, who was a starter at the end of last year. Good hit to the chest, not to the middle, not to the head. But without Stidham, you get a true freshman in Zach Smith in with Russell out. And he's a good guy with a lot of talent. But Jim Grobe said, you know, we just haven't had to play him much. Only 20 attempts coming into this game. And all of a sudden in a game that, it's, you know, a little out of reach. But with Russell, you feel like you may have had a chance. And who knows with a young guy.
Fourth down now. Go for it. Another flag.
Full start. Offense number 64.
Holy cow.
5-yard penalty. Fourth down.
Well, you know, you're so used to Seth Russell and how he runs the line of scrimmage, and then you get a new guy coming in, and just a little different. There's Phil Bennett talking to Jim Grobe, the defensive coordinator.
So it's back to a 4th and 7 now. They want to throw for it over the middle, and they got the tight end Tecklenburg, and Tecklenburg, the big guy, at 270 pounds, gets the first down inside the 10.
Good fake here by Zach Smith. A little bit of the jump fake after, that's that almost Tim Tebow jump throw after the fake to the middle of the line of scrimmage and find your tight end wide open.
This one thrown in the flat. There was a lot of contact out there with Tecklenburg and the defender. Looked like it may have been early, and Oklahoma may have gotten away with one.
Okoronkwo, the linebacker who was hurt earlier, doing a good job fighting through and almost having an interception right there.
Williams reached out, tried to get the ball across the goal line, will come up just short. Williams, who was hurt earlier in the ball game, and we saw him leave the field on crutches.
And went in and got checked. Dr. Jerry Punch made the report that the knee was stable. It was a sprain, not a significant injury. So if he could go, they were going to let him.
3rd and goal. Smith tries the quarterback keeper, did not make it.
Well, I think they're going to give a look. They haven't called it yet.
Touchdown.
Because, yeah, he looked like his momentum got in, and the line judge could not see and had to go take a look. Now, during that time, the line judge is running there, of course. You could always push the ball above, but that's impossible to see with that many bottles. So the line judge waited until he got inside to call it.
So how about that for the freshman? Leads the touchdown drive.
And you're looking at exactly what the line judge is looking at. The guy with the L on his shirt running in there, so kind of hard to see. It sure did look like they got enough push, so we'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Now, what's so odd about that and has always troubled me about the mechanics of officiating, the umpire is a foot away from that, and he doesn't make the call. You wait for a guy who's 40 yards away to come running in from the sideline, and he makes the
Offense, number 85, 5-yard penalty. Try for point.
Another penalty.
The umpire will turn around and whisper every once in a while.
Well, after going through some training, the umpire, he has to watch for holding. And if he takes his eyes off of that and there's a tackle and he's watching for the touchdown, then he's not doing his job.
Another offensive line penalty, and this is an epidemic. 9 of them. If you're the O-line coach, what are you saying to your guys after this?
Well, that wasn't an offensive lineman.
That's special teams. You're right. Trying to make it a 35-17 game. And they do. 4:15 to go, 3rd quarter. 35-17. We'll tee it up tonight. Jabril Peppers, part of the Heisman discussion as an athlete.
And because of the early kick, Bob Stoops will be able to go home and watch us for a while.
Westbrook from the 1. And doesn't make the 20. Good coverage by Baylor. Let's take a look at today's good hands play, brought to you by Allstate.
Jordan Evans, the senior linebacker from right here in Norman, makes a huge interception at the 1-yard line when Baylor was getting some momentum back, and then on a tipped pass makes his second interception of the day, takes it down to the 1, led to another 7 for Oklahoma. And so the senior from North Norman High School, right up the road a piece, a couple interceptions. He can play now. Having himself a nice afternoon.
Sooners start from their own 17. Very impressed with Baker Mayfield, this whole offensive unit. Mayfield so quick to get away from trouble. Gets what he can up to the 19 till he's body slammed by Jordan Williams, the middle linebacker.
Mayfield thinks he's a star running back. I saw him earlier during warm-ups. He was running routes crisp like a receiver, tucking it away. He's just a guy who likes to play.
Yeah.
You could say, I mean, he wanted to make that a big run right there. He's a really good athlete, good in the open field. He's fun. He's fun to watch, and he energizes the whole team, not just his side of the ball. Everyone likes to be his teammate, and that, in this sport, if you have a guy at that position like that, it really helps.
Nixon runs into Tyrone Hunt, the redshirt freshman. Hunt's made a couple of nice plays along the D-line today. .305 and counting third quarter, 3rd and 9 for Oklahoma. Mayfield buying time now. He takes off. Slides in safely. Boy, that's close.
Yeah, you know, you love the fact that he slides here because you don't want your quarterback taking an open field hit, but he just missed the first down marker. I'd much prefer him not taking the hit, but I think that was a good mark. But
yeah, according to the 1st and 10 line, he's short.
But I don't think number 6 slides that early if he knows exactly where the line to make was. I'm not sure he quite knew right exactly where he had to go. Hard to fault him in the middle of that chaos.
Tony Nicholson is deep. And will make a fair catch at the 27, and our chance to check in with Cassidy Hubbard.
Thanks, Mike. Number 10, Penn State in some trouble at Indiana. Divine Redding with a 6-yard TD, capping off a 5-play, 74-yard drive. But Penn State just responded. They are, though, still trailing by 3. You can see it on ABC or ESPN2. Check your local listings, guys.
Cassidy, thanks very much. Indiana is a very dangerous team.
Of course, Kevin Wilson was the offensive coordinator and fullback tight end coach here before he left to be the head coach at Indiana. Has slowly built a very competitive, solid program at Indiana. He was part of that first staff that Bob Stoops hired here, where the offensive coordinator was a guy named Mike Leach. A lot of people forget that Bob Stoops is to blame for the air raid offense infiltrating not only the Big 12, but now the Pac-12 conference as well.
Now, Leach wasn't here long, but he made a huge impact.
9 months before he got that job at Texas Tech.
Now, can Baylor put together another good drive? Hasty gets about 7. Gallimore made the stop.
You know, 18 points is not a lot when you can score in bunches. I know with Seth Russell out, if you're just joining us, unfortunately, starting quarterback for Baylor out for the 2nd year in a row. Seth Russell broke his neck last season, and earlier just on the last drive he appeared to have broke his lower left leg or in the ankle area. Just a horrific turn of events for Baylor at the quarterback position. And because Jarrett Stidham decided to transfer after being a starter last year replacing Russell, Zach Smith now, another true freshman, comes in to play quarterback.
And Hasty, good hard run, fought forward for a first down. And that pass hit the ground incomplete.
You can see Smith has a little bit of an arm.
Yes, sir.
Jim Grobe told us he's a really talented guy. Of course, before the turmoil and the investigation into the sexual assaults by the football team and athletic department and the firing of Art Briles,
overthrown by a step to Zamora.
They were starting to get some of the top recruits at that position at receiver. And you've just got to think, Mike, we were around Penn State a lot after what happened with Jerry Sandusky, and you wonder what the next 3 or 4 years are going to look like here. They've already had attrition. You don't know if the NCAA is going to end up punishing Baylor at all for what happened. They've said they won't go to the executive level they went for Penn State. They will go through a more formal investigative process, but all of those remain to be answered. A lot of questions, and it's going to result in poor performance on the field and recruiting.
Blitz coming, and they got him off the corner. And Jordan Evans, who is playing an absolutely outstanding game, gets his second sack. Also has 2 picks, almost had a third. Several other tackles.
You know what he did really well there when he got to the quarterback? He didn't try to blow him up. He slowed down and broke down and made sure he made the tackle. You see a lot of times a guy with a free hit goes in there and tries to blow him up, and sometimes illegally, but that time it was a terrific job. Gather your feet, be under control. It's like playing defense in basketball before you make the tackle.
The other thing he didn't do was jump up in the air.
Yeah, get left.
Westbrook. Week 10's Monday Night Football features a pair of the NFL's best wide receivers, the Bengals' A.J. Green and Odell Beckham Jr. of the Giants. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown, 6 Eastern on ESPN, as well as streaming live on Watch ESPN. When they're at the top of the game, those two guys are virtually undefendable.
Unless Jordan Evans was covering them.
Well, that's true. He'd probably pick their pocket.
He's in his zone, yeah.
So Mayfield will go back to work from the 20-yard line. Mixon. Boy, he is nifty.
He is.
Nice way to end the third quarter. Oklahoma, 35-17 over Baylor, going for their 8th win of the season. Six. Sooners at the 36, 1st and 10. The clock is their friend. Let's see if they're a little run heavy here. Mixon gets 5, maybe 4 yards.
That's what makes, I think, as Oklahoma goes down the stretch here in a very good schedule. Baylor, West Virginia, at West Virginia, then Oklahoma State here in Bedlam. Their ability to run the ball, especially you start going to West Virginia, weather starts to change a little bit. Maybe it's not quite a 75-degree day in Norman when you play Oklahoma State, where this run game is going to pay off. And now being able to shorten the game that against an offense that, while struggling, Baylor can score in bunches.
Option look, Mixon again. They'll need about 2 yards to pick up a first down here.
And this offensive line for Oklahoma really rounding into a pretty good group. I mentioned Orlando Brown, the left tackle, Ben Powers, the left guard. They also have Drew Samaya at right guard that they really like, a young sophomore who played some right tackle last year. Eric Wren, who is the center as a walk-on, took over for Jonathan Alvarez, played really well. And this is a group that pass block, run block, they're starting to really come into their own at the right time of the season.
And Wren just got a scholarship. Mixon, first down and more. Got that burst. He's gone. 56 yards. Mixon Michigan is now over 900 yards for the season. 937, in fact, as he approaches that 1,000-yard barrier that so many great Oklahoma running backs have hit.
I think before it's all done for this sophomore, he's going to be, you know, he's got to share time. He's got Samaje Perine to share time with, but as Perine moves on.
All Perine was ready to do was break Billy Sims' record.
But now he's got to share. And you mentioned the burst. Watch right there. Woo! When he turned it on, he started walking away from the guys in white.
Levels at the 1. Taken down at the 20. Flag is down as well. Thrown into the pile. And pushing and shoving afterward.
Well, this had become a really tense rivalry. Baylor hadn't beat Oklahoma in forever. And, of course, Robert Griffin III beat them in 2011. Sooners won 2012, 13 and 14. Baylor won 14. They ran them out of the building. Last year, Oklahoma won a very good game against number 6 Baylor that propelled them into the playoff. And, of course, a lot of these players compete against each other in high school down in Texas and here in Oklahoma. So getting a little heated.
Personal foul, blocked below the waist. Kicking team number 19. 15 yards added to the end of the run. First down.
Take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. 21-0 lead for Oklahoma, and Baylor has fought back ever since. Baker Mayfield on the verge of passing for 300 yards, couple of scores. OU got 14 points off of 3 huge Baylor turnovers, and Russell, with just a devastating looking injury, had to leave the field, and his season is done. Replaced by Zach Smith, who throws a strike. And this is going to end up as a touchdown for K.D. Cannon. 62 yards.
And you know what? I want to give Stephen Parker, the safety here, who loses his helmet trying to make this tackle. Parker could have wound up and laid out Cannon on this. Instead, he decided to slow down and try to make the tackle. He could have gone for a blown up. You could see him pulling his head away. The only thing Parker didn't do was wrap up. And I know that will go down as a missed tackle. And I know that Parker should have made that tackle. However, because he went in with proper technique and didn't try to blow up the receiver, you have to give him at least credit for going through what he's been taught to do and not getting the penalty, because that could have been one of those leave your feet kind of blow up shots. And instead, Parker tries to make a tackle. He just wasn't able to finish it.
42-24. Baylor just refuses to go away. Still down 3 scores, however. Westbrook with another chance for a return. And just tripped up. I mean just. Coming up later today, ABC with a pair of 9-0 teams in action. At 3:30 Eastern, number 2 Clemson will play host to Pitt. Then to cap off the day, number 3 Michigan at Iowa. That's an 8 o'clock start tonight. Both games also streaming live on the ESPN app, and watch ESPN.
Because I know you've been waiting for it, Mike. Here are my picks, as if these matter as much as the committee. And being a Washington grad, I will note that right now I have them sitting at 5. I think the 2 best teams in the country, Alabama and Michigan, and I think Ohio State on its best day belongs to be in there. Let's see if they have their best day against Michigan down to the end. But for what it's worth, there's my top 6. And I think the thing that really hurts Oklahoma, even if there is chaos and a 2-loss Big 12 champion Oklahoma team is sitting there, the loss to Houston at the start of the season is the one that's going to hold them up. But you can forgive them,
especially now that Houston is falling off a cliff.
The Ohio State one, not a big deal unless you're sitting there both with 2 losses against Ohio State. Then I think the committee picks potentially Ohio State, although they do give credence to winning a conference. But that loss to Houston is really going to be the one that I think ultimately keeps Oklahoma, even if they do win out of the playoff like they got in last year. Just it's a tough one to overcome, I think.
This is the 109th straight sellout today, 86,249. That is the 4th largest crowd in stadium history. And now the offense facing a 3rd and 8 with the clock running. Mayfield with time floats this, another back shoulder throw, and another catch by Geno Lewis. Tell you what, Baker Mayfield has got tremendous touch on that ball. He may not drill it in there, but he knows exactly where to throw it to give his guy a chance.
Well, he's got dudes that are making plays,
yes,
too.
Sir.
I mean, that's other than maybe getting your head around and finding the ball a little earlier if you're Henry Black, and I think that's the second time we've seen Black with just great coverage. And it is an accurate throw because when you throw, they call them 50-50 balls. One or the other guy can make it, but the one thing Mayfield does, you leave it a little behind the guy, and it makes it easier for him because usually the receiver sees the ball before the defender.
P-Ryan to the 36. Get a little more on the offense from Jerry Punch. Doctor?
Hey, guys, take a look at Big Bill Beatonbow. He's the co-offensive coordinator, offensive line coach for Oklahoma. He's got a booming voice, a lot of natural charisma, and a great resume in coaching lineage. Here's Bill. He played at Iowa Westland in the early 90s. The head coach of that team, Hal Mumme, the innovator of the air raid offense. His offensive line coach there was one Mike Leach, and he was an offensive lineman. You know who his wide receiver was? Dana Holgerson, the head coach at West Virginia.
And it's such great history. When we met with Bob Stoops yesterday, of course, he was the defensive coordinator at Florida under Steve Spurrier before he became the head coach. And when he left here, when he left the SEC, that was when, of course, Mike Leach was the offensive coordinator for Hal Mumme at Kentucky. And so Stoops had seen he was coming to a place at Oklahoma that was down. They didn't even have a quarterback on campus. He said, I knew we needed to be innovative, so he went and got Mike Leach, and he actually called Hal Mumme and said, do you think Leach is ready to call plays? Mumme said, yeah, you should give him a try. And, of course, the rest is history.
Mayfield is split out as a wide receiver, direct snap to P-Ryan. He hammers straight ahead. It's interesting to talk to coaches because you eventually get back to the coaching tree that they came from and the guys that influenced them. It's just fascinating to listen to them talk about it.
Yeah, now Lincoln Riley was a walk-on player. He called himself a preferred walk-on at Texas Tech. And along the way, Mike Leach said, hey, you're pretty good at this quarterback stuff. And he actually became a student assistant for his last 3 years. So instead of playing, he became an assistant, ended up helping as a GA with Graham Harrell in his great year, and then his coaching career took off. So if you're looking to blame someone for Mike Leach and the unleashing of the air raid, it's Bob Stoops who you're looking to blame.
P-Ryan again. It was funny, Lincoln Riley said that they told him, you've got a shot to compete for the 3rd quarterback spot on this team, or you can mentor the younger quarterbacks and maybe get a coaching career started. And he said he was thinking about coaching anyway. That's the way he got into it. But to be a coach as a student, I think that would be really cool.
Said it was such a great experience and hurt his pride a little bit. They told him
for a while. Mixon, look at this guy. This is a special talent. Joe Mixon out of Oakley, California. Talk about all-purpose.
Well, and Lincoln Riley, who left Texas Tech and went on his tour of being a coach, ended up at East Carolina under Ruffin McNeil, who'd been the defensive coordinator at Texas Tech, and then got a call to come to Oklahoma when Bob Stoops was making to look a change at his offensive coordinator position. So round and round, he came all the way back to the Big 12 from East Carolina.
Mayfield swing to P-Ryan. Well, Lincoln Riley is still a very young man, but you can tell he is on the fast track to running his own program. I think basically he can call his own shot in this business.
Well, we made a huge change. Bob Stoops bringing Riley in last year, and all they did in their first year under a new offense is go to the college football playoff and win the conference.
Good start.
And looking like they'll win the conference. I think they're clearly the best team in the league this season. So I think Lincoln Riley will be 2-0 as OC, winning conference championships for the Sooners. That's a pretty good start if you'd like to be a head coach somewhere. Some other guys have done that.
Yes. Going into today, number 3 in total offense. Great fake by Mayfield on the keeper. Gets what he can and then steps out of bounds. 20 for 25 through the air for Baker today. 300 yards, couple of touchdowns, one ill-advised throw that resulted in a pick. He's only hitting 80% of his throws. Came in hitting 71.2 with the second highest pass efficiency mark in the nation. This may elevate him further.
And Bob Stoops made his bones as a defensive coordinator. Think about that. You know, you think about a guy who really made a choice that goes against kind of the old thinking of, oh, I want a nice conservative offense. He immediately went, when he got the job here, and got as innovative as he could, hiring Mike Leach. And
well, you would agree, if you're going to win here, you can't do 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
But coaches have tried that in other places. They've said, oh, we can go to Oklahoma and we can run that. And even Charlie Strong at Texas, he wanted a power offense. He's now gone to the spread because they're recruiting in the state of Texas and in Oklahoma. All the high schools,
they all run
the spread now. And so it's incredibly hard in this region of the country.
That was my point.
Yeah.
You can't do it with 3 yards in a cloud of dust. The players and the systems aren't there. Mayfield this time caught.
But you know what, Mike? Here's what I'll say about the air raid in this spread. They love to run the ball. So granted, it's not 3 yards in a cloud of dust. We're going to run it on first, second, and third down, but they'll run it on 3rd and 12 because they're spreading you out and being able to do different things. And so the yards per carry have gone through the roof with these new types of offense.
Well, remember when we did games with Rich Rodriguez? He said some people just think it's you run the spread to pass the ball. No. He says, I spread it out so I could run the ball. He was as much of an innovator in the spread offense as anybody.
Well, and that's, you can see, if you've watched this game and you've watched Oklahoma, they're not going away from the run is an incredible part of this game plan. And while they'll end up with crazy throwing numbers, and it's also, remember, the pace of play. These teams are playing 80, 90 snaps per game. 15, 20 years ago, offenses were playing 60, 70 snaps a game. So the offensive numbers are going to explode just because you're defending, in some cases, another quarter or a quarter and a half of offense than you used to defend.
Perine was dragged down from behind by Trayvon Blanchard. This drive has taken over 7 minutes off the clock and pretty much sealed Baylor's fate whether they score here or not.
It's because they're doing the old 8 yards in a cloud of dust offense.
And we've got a timeout with 5:29 on the clock. Oklahoma driving, already leading 42-24.
Pitt, Clemson, today at 3.
And going for more. Baker Mayfield trying to cap another huge game. Mixon is his running back with 4 wide receivers. Mayfield quarterback draw. Got down to the 4. Ball came loose, no signal. Still no signal as they try to separate the players.
Yeah, and as more after the play, these players have to be careful because once the officials start saying, hey, if you do it again, we're going to give you a penalty, you're going to end up with another 15-yarder.
So it's 4th and goal, and they will bring on the field goal unit. Seibert, who has been very inconsistent this year, will have a chip shot drive from 21 yards. Been terrific in practice, hasn't really carried it over in games yet.
Just doing everything you can to jinx him, aren't you?
No, that was not a jinx stat at all. That, if anything, it was the other way. Let's go to Jerry Punch, Doc.
Hey, Mike, you mentioned this is the 109th consecutive sellout here at the Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium in the Bobby Stoops era. Now, because of the sellout and the fan support, the Board of Regents approved $160 million in renovation. Where I'm standing in the south end zone is the phase one. They bowled in the south end zone of this stadium that included 22 new suites, 60 outdoor loge boxes, and behind me a fan plaza where you could, for over 3,000 square feet, where fans can just mill around and still be able to see the football game. That's phase one. Phase two will be finished in February this year. That'll be new locker rooms, new training rooms, a total makeover, $160 million commitment to football, to building new facilities here at Oklahoma.
And Jerry Joe Castiglione, the outstanding athletic director of this program, was up here earlier and says, what do you think of the new digs down there? Yeah. They really look good, Ed. They made this, it was just a perfect addition to the stadium.
Yeah, it really makes it an intimate, nice feel the way they closed in that south end zone. And Joe shared with us, not announced yet, but phase four, they're going to put a roof on this place. That's a joke.
Thank you. You took my breath away. Here's Cassidy Hubbard. Cassidy, thanks so much. And Michigan continues to lead the way. This would be a huge blow to any postseason hopes for Penn State. And Indiana trying to get back over the 500 mark. They are a dangerous, dangerous ball club.
And the problem for Oklahoma and their road to the college football playoff for the second year in a row, and why it is so difficult, is because the Big Ten is so good this year that there could be two teams out of that league in the college football playoff if you end up with a one-loss Michigan or no-loss Michigan. And even a two-loss Ohio State could potentially get in as well. I think so. Depends on what happens in the SEC, but I think there could be a chance, if that's a very competitive game at the end, possibly.
I think two losses would make it just almost impossible. Flag is down on this, probably going to be an interference call against Dakota Austin.
Well, Austin did he was in position.
Pass interference, defense, number 27, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And Austin, a senior, should know a little better. He's in good position, but right here, he reaches over and just goes across. There's just no reason for him to do that. Now, the question I would have is that ball catchable? That looked like it was pretty. Katie Cannon would have had to go about 10 feet in the air to make that catch. So while I do agree it was pass interference, I'm not sure that was catchable. And if it's not, you call it off.
Smith has already shown us the big arm. He does again to Cannon. Excuse me, to Zamora, and Zamora with a hard run down near the 30-yard line. Gain of 28.
Well, Jim Grove told us when we talked to him this week that Zach Smith has all the tools. He's just a very young guy who hasn't gotten a lot of reps, and Zach Smith's going to get plenty of reps now. If you're just joining us, Seth Russell done for the year with what looked like a really significant lower leg injury on his left year. Second year in a row that Seth Russell has lost a season to injury.
Now that's the way to throw a ball away. You put it up in the 15th row, and you make sure nobody is going to get that thing.
And you break someone's nose with a fastball. That's Kendall Briles, the offensive coordinator, and of course the son of Art Briles, who was fired in June after it was revealed that the program had not dealt with sexual abuse allegations or the investigation of said allegations properly. Still ongoing. What's going to happen here at Baylor? New athletic director Mack Rhodes has a big, big job ahead.
Inside the 20 to Blake Lynch, who we've also seen at running back today, and that's a first down. Jordan Evans for Oklahoma, by the way, the first Sooner defensive player ever with 2 sacks and 2 interceptions in the same game. He has been spectacular today.
They haven't had many good defenders here.
No. Boy, another pass just whistles off his hand.
Pass is complete to Strickland.
Yeah, Smith from Grandview High School in Grandview, Texas. 6'4", 235. He looks, man, he whips it, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, gets his, it's a nice release on it.
Got Jermichael Hasty back there with him. Instead, he throws for the end zone and just a little bit too high.
Well, that one he threw a little late. You had the corner. Zamora was open. He faked the slant, then went back to the corner, and Smith held this just for 1 second, just even half a second too early.
Parker, the true freshman, able to recover.
That was nice coverage, yeah.
Second and goal.
Look at the Oklahoma big bodies as they lumber onto the field because Baylor made a switch on offense. And this is the way you slow things down a little bit. As they make a change, you put other people on. You don't have to sprint on.
That one's batted down to the line of scrimmage. So it'll be 3rd and goal. And you notice they take their sweet time in that substitution. Yeah. Coaches tell them there's no reason to hustle on, is there?
In the hurry-up era of college football, if the offense makes a change on personnel, the defense can match it and align.
3rd down for Smith to the end zone. Back of the end zone. Cannon can't get it.
Well, you don't need to force it sometimes down here when you got coverage. Maybe look to run. That looked like the middle of the field may have been open for Zach Smith. These are things he's going to be able to see. A lot of it for the first time on tape when they go back and look at the film.
4th and goal.
A lot of people in Vegas interested in this score, I think.
Smith with a pump fake, throws, and underneath they didn't get in. Down to about the 1 foot line, but they'll turn it over on downs. Strickland made the catch. 2 defenders were there and just kept him out of the end zone. Nice defense to save 7 points. As well as streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
Lots of Oklahoma influence in that game tonight. Mike Leach, now the head coach at Washington State. Offensive coordinator here, of course. Sonny Dykes, who was came out from that air raid system at Texas Tech after his father, Spike Dykes, was the head coach. And unfortunately for Oklahoma, there is a player down.
We have already had enough injuries in this game. Thank you. Flowers is the injured player who did such yeoman's duty a week ago when he was asked to play tailback. Had never had a carry in his college career and had 22 for 115 last week.
Checking the right lower leg as he got rolled up on a bit at the end of that run.
Bob Stoops said he is as versatile a player as they have. When he wasn't running the ball and they had Abdul Adams in there as a freshman tailback, he went back to his fullback spot and was blocking for him.
And we asked Stoops if Flowers was going to get a little more run at tailback, and he said, well, have you seen Mixon and Pirine run? When Mixon comes off of his 1-game suspension and Pirine's healthy, of course, they're going to be the backs.
Let's go to Doc Punch. Jerry, what do you have?
Guys, you know, officials have been using instant replay for a long time, talking about looking at possessions and fumbles and scores. I want to show you the first of its kind medical replay machine. Now, yeah, the Oklahoma petitioned the NCAA to be able to use video replay. It has to be outside the coach's box. And these guys in front of me, 2 athletic trainers, and the orthopedic surgeon will come over. They can actually take our feed and go back and forth and watch a replay of an injury happening. Why is this important? Well, he did some homework with the NFL and said video is critical. If you know the mechanism of injury, you can better diagnose and more quickly treat what happens to a player, because many times the players can't tell you themselves when they come off to the side of the field.
Oh, yeah. There goes Pirine. Doesn't have the breakaway speed of Mixon, so he's not going to get you 90 yards, but he can get you 30.
You can see those short legs as he's great for 20 yards, but those legs can't quite stretch out like Mixon can. A good job cutting back to the middle field, get a little more, even though the clock only stops for a few seconds when you go out of bounds until you're inside of 2 minutes. A good save of clock here, and now for Oklahoma, you can keep the run game going and melt this clock away. What a nice victory on your path to second Big 12 championship in a row. This team is red hot. This is a good
They
group.
have now 2 running backs who've gone over the 100-yard mark as Adams checks in. Mixon has 124. Pirine has 100. And thanks to Jerry Punch for that report on the medical replay, we're doing so much better at protecting kids in college football with the protocols now, with concussions and the new targeting rule, and now new medical devices that or medical diagnosis that they can be helped by video. I think that's terrific.
You know, in watching NFL games and the differences, you mentioned the targeting rule. I think this game has become a lot safer during the game. You know, Cam Newton had a call with the commissioner in the NFL complaining about feeling unsafe in the pocket. And I watched that first game of the year, the hits he was taking to his head and neck area. And I agree, Mike. I think that this college football has done a really good job of trying to get those hits out. You know, we saw that missed tackle for the touchdown earlier by Stephen Parker, the safety. And as they're still looking at that injury on Dimitri Flower to try to determine what happened, be able to call back to the medical people in the locker room to say what they had. But, you know, I looked at that tackle by Parker 7-8 years ago. That would have been a layout shot. Parker probably would have left his feet trying to lay out. But now these players know. Now, you know, if he had wrapped up, it would have been better. But he got his head out of the hit. He led with his shoulder. Yeah, it ended up with a touchdown for Baylor. But I do think that we're seeing strides with the players changing their behavior.
Abdul Adams, they weren't sure he was going to be able to play, a little banged up after last week, but he drives forward and gets a first down. Jerry Punch, I wanted to ask you a question about that medical replay system. You said it's valuable in diagnosis. For example, if somebody is coming from one direction or another, is that what can tell you the extent of an injury?
Yeah, Mike, exactly. See behind me, they can rewind any of our previous plays and show exactly what's happening here. That way you know if a player is injured, how the mechanism occurred.
All right, thanks, Doc. Didn't mean to jam you on time there, but I wanted to have you explain that a little bit. Big win for Oklahoma, number 11 this week in the playoff rankings, certain to move up, 45-24. They win today at home over a game-bought Baylor team that fought. For Ed Cunningham and Jerry Punch and our entire crew, thanks for watching, everybody. This is Mike Patrick. Now we send you back to the studio.
Thank you, Mike. Chris Cotter.